it's changing so fast in property management that we have to have time as the business owners to spend 2 hours and do nothing but just think about what the future of the business is going to look
I
like.
love doing that. I'll spend more than 2 hours doing that.
But most people struggle with finding that amount of time.
It's not about finding the time, it's deciding how important it is. Bam! Did you hear that?
I did hear that.
I'm in a punchy mood today.
Welcome to the Property Management Success Podcast, where we interview leaders in the industry to uncover the secrets to profitability, efficiency, and achieving true freedom, whether it's your time, money, or lifestyle. I'm your host, Tony Cline, and I'm here to help you build a wildly successful property management business. Let's get to it. Welcome back to another episode of the Property Management Success Podcast.
Welcome back.
Well, we've got Mark Brower in the house with us. And a lot of times when we do this segment, we call it the Property Management Aid Station. I've noticed you got a picture of the rower. I see people that are just listening to it.
There's no significance. I'm just trying to be distracting to you.
Yeah, well, you're always handsome young man like you, always distracting. But
So this is an impressionistic painting. And I got this TV in my office because I thought, hey, maybe someday I'll just sit across the room and I'll have my computer screen up there and I'll have a little keyboard on my lap. So I spent money on this really nice dock for my MacBook Pro. I got a little shelf behind me and put the laptop in the dock and nada. Like I can't figure out how to get it to project up there. And I mean, it was a really good idea. It was a really good idea.
You know what's funny is that ties so good into the topic, and we haven't talked about the topics we were going to cover today.
No, we haven't.
But today we're going to freestyle a little bit. So, but that ties so much into a topic that I wanted to talk to you about, which is you and I got back from Broker Owner was about 2 weeks ago, something like that. Mm-hmm. And I've been thinking a lot about the vendor fair that's down there, and I was thinking a lot about the entrepreneurs, the brokers or owners of property management companies that went down there to, is this a sponsorship section? Mark is now sponsored by Liquid Death, apparently.
Was that good? Was that good?
It was pretty clear. All right. So let's bring it in a little bit. So let's go back to all these brokers or owners of these property management companies took time off to go specifically to see what's the latest thing or things in property management, both from a strategic and tactical standpoint to tools and resources. And I've just been thinking so much about the damage that could be caused by going to one of those events and not being intentional about what you're going to do or what actions you're going to take when you come back.
The damage.
Yeah. So this ties into your picture and that fine young gentleman rowing across the waters with the TV in the back. I think a lot of times people get distracted by that shiny object syndrome. They think that they want to implement some new tool, some new software, some new thing, and they do, but then they don't follow through and actually make it productive or make it a benefit for the company, and they just continue to pay for it without actually fully implementing it and seeing the benefit coming out the other side.
Yeah. Like this guy's, he sees something over there and he's stopped. You can tell he's not actively in the act of rowing right now. He's holding the oars. He's kind of coasting on momentum. He's like, should I be over there in that boat with that young lady? Or what's that turtle doing in the water? I don't know what he's thinking.
I know what he's thinking. He's actually looking down. I can see he's looking down at you saying, Mark, why did you make this investment for this TV? Why did you buy the docking station? And then why did you not follow through to make this actually a useful resource for you?
I feel ashamed.
All right, so that's one of my takeaways from Broker Owner is that there was a lot of really great stuff there, but also if you're not just super intentional about rolling out some new tool, if you're not really evaluating what problem am I trying to solve, as opposed to, oh, hey, that was a cool thing. Let me see how I could create an issue to implement that. If you don't have an active problem or you don't have an active opportunity that you're trying to pursue, I think the damage that I was mentioning before that comes from some of this trade show or conference can be, I get really excited about things that I'm excited about there because it's really cool and new and different, but yet I don't have a way I'm going to implement that into my business. So I try to think about or create or make up a way to implement something like that into my business.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, well, this sparks a few different ideas. One, I had a mentor years ago that really changed my thinking. And one of the things he shared was don't make decisions based on your perceived options in front of you. Create a clear vision of where you're headed, whether or not there's a clear path to getting there. You know, there's two different, it's almost like there's a separation. Vision is its own thing over here. Like, let's get really clear about what we want. The concept car. I use this analogy in my business all the time. We talked about the concept car?
No.
Okay.
Well, if you did, I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, sure. You were distracted. So
That
there's this
man in the painting he had my full attention.
young man. Everybody's young man to you today.
Yeah.
So there's this idea of a concept car where they have these car shows every year, and these designs of these futuristic cars are really cool to look at. And they're these prototypes, and they're really amazing. And when I was a kid, I used to get these car magazines and be like, what? Like, wow, I want to drive that. How much does that cost? And it's not for sale. It's a concept car. Why would anyone, I was like, why would anyone create a concept car that you can't actually make and sell it to somebody? This is ridiculous. The idea behind a concept car, one of the ideas, is that we're stretching the limits of design, we're stretching the limits of engineering, we're stretching almost like as a thought exercise what could be possible. I mean, look at fashion shows. Same thing. Some of these fashion shows, like the ridiculous outfits that are running down the walkway. What is that called?
Runway?
Yeah, the runway.
You probably walk it. I probably run it.
I do.
It's the same.
I've got one in my house. So yeah, but you don't see those outfits on the stands, 2 months later in the spring lineup. But what they do is they inform and inspire design elements. And so when I think of vision is its own thing. The vision of your business, the vision of the future is crafted intentionally with creativity and excitement and enthusiasm, and it should, I believe, stretch beyond what's possible. We should be inspiring ourselves and our teams with ideas that are not practical. They are the concept cars of our business. And so vision's over here. And that's where I love to play. I love to be a dreamer. And then over here is like a pragmatic, strategic, rank order priority, like implementer type of thinking. And you need both. But don't show up at a conference and take something off the shelf and try to I can see some value from that. And then then you've got did you intend? Is this the picture you created in your mind? All of this bolted on, awkward looking, is that what you were going for? Or did you create something that you were aspiring toward, and in so doing, you put yourself in a position that when the opportunity is presented, you're like, that's one of the pieces. I've already seen the design, and that's one of the pieces, and I see it for what it is. Is this what we're talking about?
Absolutely. I think if it's a little later in the afternoon and I'm hungry, so I'm going to take your design, your concept car, and I'm going to turn it into food. So it's a little bit like I'm thinking about what's the recipe that I'm trying to create, what's the recipe of my business that I want it to be. And sometimes I think we, as entrepreneurs, especially visionaries, we get excited about things and we're like, I like bananas. There's bananas right there. I like bananas. So let me just grab some bananas and I'll put that in the recipe. I like cheese too. So you know what? I'm gonna throw some cheese on there. So now I got bananas and cheese, and I don't know. I mean, I, I like baked potatoes and I like corn. So let me throw that in there. I like syrup too. Well, actually, I like orange marmalade. That's really good. And you look at all these little things that you like that catch your attention, and we throw that in the recipe as opposed to being intentional about what are we actually trying to build, and only adapting or adopting things that fit the recipe as opposed to just something that, oh, that looks cool, or I like that, let me see how that might work.
Yeah. Uh, Intentionally choosing the ingredients that are necessary to make the final product. That we start with the vision of the final product, what it looks like, what it smells like, what it tastes like, and the features and benefits of that, and like how does that connect with our gifts and our talents and our unique ability, and then how does that connect with our purpose and our mission? Like, let's intentionally see something part aspirational, part practical, but definitely something that combines our unique ability, our gifts and talents in the service of others to create maximum value. That should be at the forefront of our vision for our businesses, creating maximum value in a unique way only we can, or only our team can. And now when the ingredients present themselves, we see them for what they are. You know, I can walk through a trade show and say like, oh my gosh, I've heard from 10 smart people that AI is the future. So I've got 3 AI options. This is the best one. Let's bring it in. Bam, bolt it on. Well, that's not really working like I expected. You know, it's just an example. I've done that so many times over the years where I like go to a trade show, see something. So here, 2 or 3 people are using this particular software. You know, talk to the vendor. All right, we're doing this. You know, not really being intentional, not really being organized, not really being systematic, not really having the persistence to fully integrate it and fully realize the benefits from it. Those are all things I've experienced.
I want to go back to something. We'll switch gears just slightly, but I wanted to go back. You mentioned the reason we have concept cars is to expand the thinking of what's possible and not just making the choices. I don't remember exactly how you phrased it, but the person.
We do not move forward by considering the apparent options in front of us and choosing one of those.
Right.
We don't do that. We go, this is where I'm going. Whether there's an option in front of me or not, this is where I'm going. And then we trust in the universe that as we hold ourselves to that vision, the way will become clear. I guess another way of saying this is you don't craft vision by taking the next apparent step forward.
Yeah. So I want to pull that in. I want to give you an example of a situation I had on one of the coaching calls I had this week. So I had a client and they were doing exactly what you said, which was they were trying to figure out how to deliver the maximum value in the services that they offer. And this is not a debate about whether you should pre-lease your properties or wait till they're vacant. It's everybody, you do what you want, right? Whatever works for your business, whatever you can stand behind. But in this case, they were trying to determine how they were going to maximize the value that they were going to deliver.
Yes, I'm with you.
Are you? Okay. So in this call, they were looking at, well, they wanted to have a leasing guarantee, but it was tied to them setting the rent and also having an automatic price reduction because, as you know, you don't set the market rent.
There you go.
I don't set the market rent.
Yep.
The market sets the market rent.
Buyers do.
And so if we put the property on the market and we don't get at least X number of showings or Y number of applications, and it's been on the market longer than 14 days, then we should automatically do a price reduction. Like that should be our default. It doesn't mean we
Totally.
have to follow the default every time if there's some weird circumstance, but we want to have that default. So they were trying to reconcile a few things of the the automatic price reduction with the leasing guarantee, with trying to minimize the vacancy and the turnover costs in between tenants. And
Yeah.
so what they were doing is they were trying to evaluate, should I do pre-showing and pre-leasing, or should I offer this leasing guarantee where we're doing automatic price reductions?
Okay.
And they were trying to evaluate between these two choices. And really, the correct choice that we came up with for them and their company was that it wasn't an either or, it was a both. And let's start pre-leasing even more, where a lot of the people who are their target client for a resident, they're out there looking because they've got housing vouchers and different things. So they're looking for housing at least 90 or 60 days out from the time
Dang.
that they need to move in. So it
Yeah.
actually helps to pre-lease, and it gives us an extra. If we said we're going to not start pre-leasing at 30 days out, but we're going to start pre-leasing at 90 days out, or 60, let's go 60,
Yep.
then it gives me 30 days to play with the market to try to maximize my return for my landlord and to see what the market's going to say about that before I have to get serious and adjust it to where we're now just 30 days out.
Okay.
So it was a combination of not just looking at those two choices they had in front of them and saying it's an either or. We actually created an entirely new solution
Love it.
that helped encapsulate all of the things they were trying to accomplish, and they're going to make more money, and the landlord is going to have less expense, which means they're going to have a better annual net.
Nice. So they found a triple win by thinking creatively. There's a name for what you're describing. It's a false optionality, false exclusionary, choice. It's a false, something. You're gonna
We'll
say,
put it in the show. We'll put it in the show notes.
don't hurt
Probably.
yourself, Mark.
Maybe.
Yeah. So the book Crucial Conversations talks about this. It calls it the fool's choice. When you're presented when you think you're at a crossroads of like, well, I have to do this or this. I would say usually when you think you're at an either or, it's not an either or.
Mm-hmm.
You just haven't spent enough time sitting with that and with enough creativity and intentionality to find the abundant solution, and that's the essence of innovation.
And that's why it's so important that with the things that I coach and I talk about being in the entrepreneur extraction business, things are changing so fast in the world in general, just with AI, legislation, all of these things. It's changing so fast in property management that we have to have time as the business owners to spend 2 hours and do nothing but just think about what the future of the business is going to look
I
like.
love doing that. I'll spend more than 2 hours doing that.
But most people struggle with finding that amount of time.
It's not about finding the time, it's deciding how important it is. Bam! Did you hear that?
I did hear that.
I'm in a punchy mood today. My daughter the other day goes, "Dad, I don't have the time for that." That drives me nuts, by the way. Don't ever, if you're my daughter, don't ever say, I don't have, if you're close to me, don't ever say, I don't have time for that. It drives me nuts. It's not being honest. You have all the time in the world. You have all the time until you're dead. You have all the time. And so it's how important is it? You're deciding this is not important. Now that's a different conversation. Now you have to talk. Now you have to decide why you decided that. Sorry if I'm going off on a tangent.
All right. Well, for the folks that are just listening, you can't see what's happening in the background with what Mark's
I thought
got
everybody
going.
was watching this on video.
Are you Are you intentionally being distracting with finding
I'm
the
sorry.
lilac bushes,
Yeah, I
or
think I think I should have ate lunch today.
yeah?
So can I? Oh, I don't want that one up.
No naked ladies on the back. That's just so
Sorry,
you know,
I
that
got
was
this
not my
screen.
choice.
Okay, so yeah, so impressionistic art. I know this is not what we're talking about, but impressionistic art. I was thinking about this morning because I had these impressionistic paintings up on my TV here, and the thought occurred to me. I'm curious what you think of this. Um, we don't see anything perfectly clearly in life. I think impressionistic art is a statement about life. We don't see what the best we can hope is to get a vague impression that's more accurate than not about what's really going on. Um, and I think impressionistic art is a beautiful representation of that truth. There, I
All
said it.
right, I'm gonna build on that, but go in a totally different direction.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, one of my favorite topics is everybody that knows you knows a different version of you.
Wow.
And that just kind of blew my mind the first time I heard it, and it's always stuck with me. But I want to tie in another piece to give you something else to think about, which is in life we have a field of view, which I think it's like 135 degrees, something like that. So we have a field of view when we're standing, looking forward. Life in reality is happening 360 degrees around us,
Oh yeah, yeah.
but yet we only have a field of view of 135 degrees. So we only can
Yeah.
see what's happening here. So our reality is less than half of what's happening in reality.
Okay.
And then you have your field of view, but you really have your field of focus, which I think is like 10 to 15 degrees. Don't chat
Interesting.
GPT me on that. But
Did you know
but
I
so
was ChatGPTing you?
yeah, so you have a field of view, but inside that field of view you have a field of focus. So even
Yeah,
though this things are happening peripherally around you, the things that are in your focus is what becomes your reality.
totally.
And so we need to be really conscientious and intentional about what we put in our field of focus
Well,
and
I have something to add to that.
add to it.
All right. So there's a painting called Son of Man, and most people don't know the name of the painting, but most people have seen the painting. And it's a man. It's actually a self-portrait, apparently. It's a man with like dressed in like 1920s, like he's got a jacket on. He's got like a derby hat on, and there's a green apple in front of his face. Now, have
Mm,
you seen this?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the artist actually, I think, gave a depiction or an explanation. Not all artists do that, by the way, because they want, of course, as it's like, no, the piece needs to speak to you. Real art speaks to you and delivers your message. So they don't want to cloud the message necessarily with their own interpretation or their expression, right? But I believe this artist gave his own expression, and he said something to the effect that what is visible, everything we see hides what we don't see.
Mm,
Everything we see hides what we don't see. And so, even if we're talking about our periphery and then our area of focus and then our singular focus or whatever, we are constantly making choices about what we're focusing visually, mentally on. And those choices of focusing exclude a lot of things that we're not seeing. And I guess this is an argument in favor of vision. Take the green apple, away from your face. Look behind. Like after actually my fractional CMO told me that, he's like, "Hey, you had this painting up in your office the other day. I think it's really cool. We could include it in our branding somehow." Because I looked it up and this is what it said. He's like, I started looking around in my periphery and in my field of vision. I started thinking, okay, I see a wall right there. That wall is actually hiding everything behind that wall from my vision. That chair is doing the same thing. This door, my computer screen. There's something behind my computer screen. I cannot see it. And maybe if we tied that back into your trade show analogy, you're walking through a trade show and you're looking at the shiny object that the vendor is presenting to you, and the choice to focus on that thing is inviting the experience of not seeing everything else for whatever period of time that you're focused on that thing. So is that helpful to the conversation?
I don't know if it's helpful or not, but I really liked it. All right. I'll tell you what, let's wrap this up. Let's get these folks back out on the
Hey, get back there.
on the
Get
trail.
back out there on the trail. It's getting hotter. It's actually getting hotter. It's April in Arizona. So stay hydrated. Start taking your salt. I know you don't feel depleted yet. You got to load up on your salt now, your electrolytes now, so that before you get to the next aid station, you're not crashing hard.
All right. We'll see you at the next one.
See you at the next one.
Thanks for tuning in to the Property Management Success Podcast. We'll be back with another value-packed episode to help you level up your property management game. If you've got something valuable out of today's episode, please share it with a friend or colleague, and don't forget to subscribe and leave a review so you never miss out on future insights and strategies and tactics. Until next time, here's to your success.